Hello, this is Brad, and I am with Mid-Continent Public Library. Welcome to our Scanning App series, where we look at free mobile apps that can be used to scan documents using a smartphone. You don't need a copier or a scanner, just the smartphone that you likely have nearby, or you might even be using it to watch this video. This can be handy when you need a digital version of a physical document. Maybe you had to sign a document, but now you need a digital version to email to someone, or to text, or to upload somewhere. In most cases, taking a scan with a smartphone is as simple as taking a picture. All of the apps we will look at in this series are free, and today we are specifically looking at the Adobe Scan app. This app is available on both Android and Apple smartphones and tablets. You can find it for free in each device's respective app store. Adobe Scan has a lot of additional features that are great if you plan to do a lot of scanning and you want more options when it comes to modifying a scan. If you don't need some of these additional features, there are other apps that offer simpler options for a quick scan. For instance, the Apple Notes app works well on Apple devices, and the Google Drive app can be used on both Android and Apple devices if you need a quick scan. However, if you want to do more modification to your scan, or you scan a lot of different things, the Adobe Scan app is a great option. Let's go ahead and get started. I am going to go to the App Store, and within the App Store, I would do a search for Adobe Scan. This is a free app. It will not cost me anything. And there I see the free Adobe Scan app. I will tap Get to get the app. Once it has downloaded, I could tap Open. So I will go ahead and open it up to get started. And I will need to sign in with either an Apple account, a Facebook account, a Google account, or an Adobe account. And so I would choose one of those four options and get signed in. This little message welcomes me to the Adobe Scan app. It lets me know that my scans are going to be processed and saved in the Adobe Cloud Storage. To get started, I'm going to need to grant the app permission to use my camera. And it's going to ask for notifications. I will leave that up to you. And then I will be ready to scan my document, so I will want to go ahead and position it on my screen. And because of the way I am holding this tablet, mine is in this landscape orientation. Normally, if you were doing this, you would probably hold your phone in a up and down portrait orientation. However, I will show you that we can rotate our page after we've taken the scan, so that doesn't necessarily matter. The app defaults to an auto capture setting, which means I don't have to press a button to take a scan. All I do is hold my phone over the document I'm trying to scan, and it will identify the page and then capture the photo for me. Every time I open up the application, this is the first thing I'm going to see. It's going to be this camera option, and it is going to begin looking for a document using that auto capture feature. When I am ready, I can tap anywhere on my screen and it will begin looking for a document to scan. There are going to be blue dots that it puts in the corners of my document, and then it will automatically capture that for me. And there is my scan. Now I do see I have all kinds of options that I can use to edit this, and I could do that if I just had a one-page document. However, if you have multiple pages, I would highly recommend pressing the Keep Scanning button in order to scan all your pages so that you can edit them all at once, so you have a nice, consistent scanned document. So before I edit anything, I'm going to tap the Keep Scanning button to keep scanning additional pages. I have a second page, so I will go ahead and get that ready. And oops, I didn't keep that very steady. That's probably not going to be a usable scan. However, I have a retake option. So if I take a scan and it's a bit blurry or it's very blurry, I can select retake and try it again. And this is only going to be for that second page. It will store that first page. So let's get this lined up here. Okay, so I've retaken my second page, and this is much better. I do still have my fingertips over there. I could retake it if I want to, but I'm going to leave that for now because there are some other ways I can fix up minor blemishes on my scan. Okay, so I now have 2 pages. If I had more, I could select Keep Scanning, but I only have 2 in this instance. So I am ready to edit my document. To see the different pages, I can tap this arrow to go back and forth, or I can swipe on my screen. Here is page 1, here is page 2, and I can see that I have 2 pages. So let's begin by cropping our page. I will tap the crop option from down below here. And this will allow me to move the edges of my document so that I can ensure that none of the surface that I took my document on is visible. So I can click and drag the corners to do that. Or with these rectangles, I can move an entire side of the document to crop the area of my scan. And once I am done with my first page, I could crop my second page in the same way. And in this situation, if I wanted to, I could just pull this side up and crop out my fingers. However, there is another way we can fix that I'm going to show you in a moment. Once I have finished cropping all of my pages, I will tap the cropping button again, and it will save all the cropping that I have done and show me my document. Okay, let's go ahead and rotate this so the pages are in portrait orientation. I will tap Rotate to do this. And this is why it's great to take all your pictures first. I can tap this button that says Select All, and then when I rotate, it's going to rotate every page of my document, much quicker than doing that individually. I tap the check mark in the top right corner when I'm done, and it will show me my document in its newly rotated orientation. Okay, let's clean up these fingers. So if I tap the Cleanup button, I have a cleanup tool that I can use to erase blemishes like this. I can change the size of that to whatever I need. And then I just color over what I'm trying to remove, and it will blend that into the surrounding color of the document. If I want to be more specific, I can fill with a selected color, and I can use this dropper to select the specific color I want my cleanup tool to use. And when I am happy with that, I will select the check mark in the top right corner. And now we see my fingers have been edited out of the document. Next, we are going to take a look at our filters. Before I look at any of these filters, I want to make sure that I tap the Apply to All Ages button. This is going to make sure that I am applying this filter to all the pages of my document, so I have a nice, consistent looking scan. Then I can look at some of these filters. There are some interesting choices on here, such as this vintage one. Depending on what you're scanning, this might come in handy. And if I tap this gear icon, I can actually set a default filter for the app if there's one that I know I want most of my documents to be in. I tap the filter button again, and I can see that my first page and my second page have had that filter applied. I can adjust the brightness and contrast by using this Adjust button. I could apply to all pages. There might be a specific page of a scan that is a little darker that I'm trying to modify, so I might not want to have that button selected depending on the situation. But I can adjust the brightness of my document, then I can tap Contrast, and I can adjust the contrast as well until I get the document looking how I want it. I tap the Adjust button to see my scan and see the adjustments that I've made to it. Next, I'm going to look at the Markup tool. This allows me to write and highlight things on my document. Here is the default color. If I tap on that, I can modify it. Using this middle spectrum allows me to select a color from here. This pane over on the left-hand side allows me to adjust the brightness. And then this allows me to adjust the intensity of the color. And then I can adjust the stroke width over here. So I can use this to mark up my document in whatever way I need to. If I slide this even farther to the bottom of this scale, I can use it as a highlighter, so my text is still going to shine through. So I have both a marker and a highlighter available here in the Markup tool section. And I can zoom in on my document using my fingers. And I can move 2 fingers to move around because 1 is going to mark on the document. And if I make a mark that I don't want, I can always use the back arrow in the top right corner, and that will remove the last mark that I made. And I can edit my first page, and I can edit my second page. And when I am done, I can tap the check mark in the top right corner, and those markups will be saved to my scan. If I want to resize my document, I have a resize option right here. Auto fit is the default, and most of the time it will do a pretty good job of picking up the size of your page. However, if I need it in a specific document size, I can use any of these options here. When I'm done, I tap the check mark in the top right corner. And if I need to reorder the pages of my document, I have a reorder option here. All I have to do is click and drag to reorder my page. And if I tap the check mark, I can instantly see my reordered pages. It doesn't matter the order in which you scan your pages, you can sort them in this reorder menu after the fact. And if I need to rename my scan, I can tap at the top here, and I can rename this document whatever I need to. And when I am done, I will tap Rename. Now, we did see the Retake button earlier if there is a specific page of my document I want to retake. However, there is also a Delete button as well if I need to delete a page. I can just tap on this trash can icon, and I can delete this specific page of my document. And when I am done modifying my document, I will select Save PDF. And my documents will be saved here in my Adobe Scan app. I will be able to modify them later on. For now, let's go ahead and share this by tapping the Share button. I would then tap Share a Copy, and it will allow me to share this document via any of the applications I have on my phone. For instance, I could text it to someone if I needed to. It will send it as a PDF. Or I could send it through email, and it would attach it as a PDF, and I could send that wherever it is I need to send it. I could also save it to the files of my device. I am using an iPad. And of course, it will be saved here in the Adobe Scan app as well. If I tap on this More button, I have some other options. If I don't want to send this as a PDF, I can save it as a JPEG, which is a photo file. And if I tap that, it is going to ask to access my photos. So now if I close out of Adobe Scan and open my photos, I should see a photo version of my document. And then I could tap the Share button to share that in photo form. However, it does dissect my document into 2 different pages. So this would just be page 1. If I needed to look at page 2, I would have to swipe over, and that would be its own separate photo. Also under the More menu, if I wanted to, I could go back in here and tap Modify Scan. That will allow me to reopen my scan and continue editing it. I could use any of these tools down here to continue modifying my document. Up here in the top right corner, this is a Copy Text button. This is going to allow me to extract the text from my PDF and then allow me to access it and modify it. Once I select Copy Text, I could open an application like an email or my text messages or a Notes app, And then if I paste, I can paste all of the text that it extracted from my PDF and allow me to use that text. This is really handy because that document I scanned was just a scanned piece of paper. I had no way to modify that text. This is allowing me to extract the text from my PDF and then allow me to have access to that. If I tap this camera button, that will reopen my camera and allow me to take another scan. And I do have some additional options with my camera. If I was scanning a document, I would use the default document setting. If I needed to scan pages of a book, they have an option for that. They also have an option for scanning a whiteboard, and then IDs and business cards as well. And if I wanted to turn off that auto capture feature, I could just tap on the auto capture button right here, and then I would manually press the photo button here in the middle to take any scan that I want to take. And this is going to be the default screen you see when you open the app. In order to get to your scanned documents, you will need to tap the little home button in the top left corner. That will show you all the scans you've already taken. And also near that camera button, if I tap this photo button, that is going to open up the photos that I have on my device, and then I can actually bring those photos into the Adobe Scan app to modify them. So I can bring in any image that I have on my phone, and I have all of those same tools available that I can use to crop and filter and adjust my photo. And so that is how we can use the Adobe Scan app to scan on our smartphone. This is a great app if you're going to do a lot of scanning. It stores all of your scans for you so you won't lose them, and gives you multiple options for editing and modifying. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to our MCPL MO YouTube channel. This has been Brad. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.